Good evening, book lovers of the internet. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe because for every subscriber, I get a new subscriber and I read a page from a book of my choice. So today I am wearing a Marvel t-shirt because I just finished reading a novel from the DC universe called The Killing Joke by two authors actually, Krista Faust and Gary Phillips, and I didn't enjoy it in the slightest. In fact, I rated this 300-page novel 2 stars, and I will let you know exactly why in the coming few minutes. So it's actually been a hot minute since I read and reviewed a superhero novel. In fact, I think the last one I reviewed was Everybody Wants to Rule the World, which was a Marvel novel which I remember enjoying more than this one, that's for sure. And this one just didn't hit the mark. It was underwhelming, disorganized, and also mostly confusing, to be honest. I must admit that I didn't have much prior knowledge regarding the happenings in the DC universe reading this book, so that's perhaps why I didn't enjoy it as much as other reviewers did. But the authors shouldn't expect people to know anything about the DC universe going into this novel. They should be able to give enough context in order for the reader to appreciate it anyway, which is something that I hate about superhero novels in general. There is just so much that's already been told that can't all be put into text, that at some point, if you don't have any prior knowledge, it just becomes confusing and difficult to follow or to understand. Um, in fact, prior to reading this one, I had only watched Batman Begins as well as The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight, sorry, I have yet to watch the third one in the Christian Bale trilogy, and I also watched Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker. I am disappointed by how much Batman comes across as futile in the read, and how much cooler the Joker is despite his insane status. And perhaps that's the point of the book, I suppose. I mean, it is called The Killing Joke for a reason, but Batman is part of the title, and he's also on the cover, so I thought there'd just be more told about the hero himself, which wasn't particularly the case. Um, I am not sure as to which story the Joker tells I should believe, considering how much of a brilliant liar and manipulator he is, but the one told in this novel seems legit, and I believe it more than several other stories he's mentioned in the movies and in this book, to be honest. Um, I was expecting more Batman, as I mentioned, and I get how his whole personality revolves around not killing lunatics or people for that matter, but with all his money, he should at least be able to up the security where the asylums are concerned so that the mentally ill patients don't escape and torment or terrorize the whole city time and time again. He should be more responsible if it is his life's mission to avenge his family's, his parents' deaths especially. Um, I usually don't mind sexism in books, especially if it's used to banter and is reciprocated. So if both genders are participating in it, that's not something I generally mind. But in this one, um, this book took it too far with the objectification of women, and it was just plain rude with certain comments that were being passed around, and almost intolerable, insufferable even. And it was sickening to say the least, especially when the Joker conducted his final so called joke on Batgirl, where he basically broadcasted her naked to the entire city, which isn't something that I'm particularly a fan of because of how insane one has to be to do such a thing and how morally incorrect it is to do that. And I suppose that this whole sexism thing doesn't come as a surprise considering how the female author, Krista Faust, is mentioned to have been a dominatrix and also an adult film industry worker for several years, so I suppose she was just brainwashed, much like the Joker tries to do with Gordon. The brainwashing so that he could break the man and make him insane, so that he'd have somebody he could at the very least relate to, though this doesn't ultimately happen. We also get drugs, murder, arson, blackmail, and identity theft, yet neither of these is used in a particularly entertaining way. And Batgirl is rather useless too, in my opinion, and the action sequences are underwhelming and poorly written, not to mention how they rarely yield any results, as turmoil still spreads like wildfire throughout Gotham City, and it does so just like that, in the form of wildfire, I suppose. And I wouldn't say that this is a memorable book, and the graphic novel will probably do a better job in explaining the story much quicker without any babbling, cringeworthy conversations. Also, with hopefully a bittersweet feeling towards the end rather than the sheer disappointment. Because in the Batman movies, that's the way it usually ends, with a bittersweet feeling because Batman doesn't kill anyone, yet the bad guys are locked up again in an asylum where they belong. And it took me way too long to finish because I had to keep stopping despite the relatively short chapters and all the blank pages in between. And hopefully, the rest of the series, which is written by different authors than these two, is better. And I'm not sure whether I'll even pick them up because I'll certainly need a break from Batman and the Joker after reading this disappointment, this letdown. And I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. 300 pages is way too long for a graphic novel or for a comic, even, which is only 70 pages. And yeah, that's all I have to say about this book called The Killing Joke by Krista Faust and Gary Phillips. I must say that the cover is beautiful, though. Um, One thing that has to be mentioned, and it's basically the reason why I bought it to begin with. If you have anything to add to my commentary, make sure to do so in the comment section, and please make sure to support my channel by subscribing, leaving a comment, sharing with your friends. Anything you usually do in order to make my channel better. We are very close to reaching 1,300 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. And yeah, anyway, that's all I had to say for today, and I hope to see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye, guys.